So at Hospital Corpsman Basic School, basically we're preparing them at an entry-level medical training. So the idea is that they learn trauma medicine, emergency medicine, basic life support, and nursing assessments. The Surgeon General came and spoke to us, and he has this idea of you want the sailor to be independent. So if a corpsman is by themselves, they can think quickly and think independently. And so in these lab settings, they really work by themselves. They have to know the lab by themselves. They have to be able to work with teams, but ultimately, if they're in a situation where it's just them, a tourniquet, and an aid bag, they know what to do. Being in a 14-week curriculum that normally may be taught over 6 months to a year in a civilian environment is stressful enough. You come into school, within 3 days of arriving, you take a test, and you take another test, and it never stops. So you set this standard really high. You have to do well because you're going to save someone's life today. You're going to affect someone's life. So you have to know it right every single time.
After platform medicine, the students move on to shipboard medicines, in which they're buddied up into groups of repair lockers or stretcher bearer teams. And they go into what was simulated a hangar. The little teams go in there and the repair lockers go in there, and they are to identify that it in fact is a mass casualty and they cannot handle the amount of patients in their 5-man team. Once they've recognized that it's a mass casualty, then they call for help or sound off mass casualty, mass casualty. Once all teams are in there, they start triaging the patients and start treating the patient as a team. And aside from that, we pound on the doors, sound a few alarms, yell at the students, not directly at them, but to cause distractors and to question if they're doing their procedures properly. You're not going to have a cool, quiet room to think about what you're going to do. You're going to have to work through all these stressors, work through a dark room, work through these alarms, and work through the yelling.
Teachable C stands for Tactical Combat Casualty Care. Here we have to just change their way of thinking just a little bit into combat medicine, into ground medicine now. You might not have the equipment that you have in a medical treatment facility. The only equipment you have is what you're carrying on your back. It is an algorithm-based course. We go off of the MARCH algorithm. MARCH stands for massive bleeding, airway, respirations, circulation, and head and hypothermia. That's the order in which we want the students to take care of the patient. Upon completion of the evolution, then they will not only graduate from A school with a certificate, but they will also receive a Teachable C certificate.
I'm more confident now because it's more Navy-centric. Before it was Air Force and it was Navy, so you had to do this blanket medicine where you had to explain the difference between the Air Force and the Navy, but make sure there was similarities. But now that it's all Navy medicine, the language is always the same. Where they leave from here and they go out to the fleet, they'll always understand what we're talking about.